Good afternoon, everyone. Really glad you're here to join us in worshiping, shall we say, vicariously through Kemp. But of course, our hearts are going to be with him as he makes music. So thank you for being here. And I just want to tell you a little bit about Kemp. He has been our church organist for over 26 years. Yes. I know Kemp is a man of faith, but also of faithfulness, and it's demonstrated in this way. So on the program, you have his biography, which I think is fascinating. It tells you how he's not only an organist, but he's also a therapist. A beautiful blend of his talents. Indeed, as I've learned more about Kemp, I've come to realize that he is a man who has been given many talents, and he's one who has not hid them. He has allowed them to grow for the world's good, our good. So since you have his bio sketch there, I'd like to just tell you about Kemp a little more on the personal side, and in particular, how he grew his musical skills. He tells me that when he was around 4, he would go to his grandma's house, which was nearby, and his grandma was an organist. And so his grandma started to teach him how to play the organ. And, you know, she started by teaching him little nursery tunes like Mary Had a Little Lamb, and taught him about how to connect letters to what the notes meant, the notation system. But then she would say, Kemp, she probably said, "Dear little Kemp, honey, go home and practice now." And so he would go home and try to figure out how to practice because his parents didn't have an organ. They didn't even have a piano at that point. So he tells me what he would do is he would pretend on their curved sofa. And yeah, so he would set up the music rack would be the back of the sofa there, and the keyboard, of course, would be the seat of the sofa. And evidently he would also practice putting his legs back and forth like you would to play pedals on the organ. So that's kind of how it began. By the time he was 13, 14, he actually started becoming the official church pianist and organist where his family worshiped. So his gifts to God via music have been long-standing. When I asked him to tell me a little bit more about his background, I'd like to finish by reading to you what he wrote to me in that regard on a personal level here. He says, "I'd like to say that music chose me. I believe I came into the world with the gift inside me. I am grateful for the teachers and mentors who have supported my growth and development as a musician throughout my life. Amidst all the styles of music I play, playing hymns to support the congregational singing in worship services is a special part of my artistic work." So that's a bit about Kemp. Lyndon is going to share with us how we connect these dots between music and worshiping God.
Well, if the spoken word is the language of the mind, music is the language of the soul. And we here worship a God of both mind, heart, and soul. And so we have music as a big part of our worship. And if you measure the number of minutes that we spend in worship, led by Kemp, it's major. He is really definitely a music minister for us, and we appreciate that. I am reminded of the words of J.S. Bach. We're going to hear a composition by him. Bach writes, "I play the notes as they are written, but it is God who makes the music." I think that's what all musicians would love to aspire to bring the notes on the page to the audience, to the listeners, and that they will hear God's voice speaking. And then Bach also writes, the aim and final end of all music should be none other than the glory of God and the refreshment of the soul. So we welcome Kemp, and as he plays.
energy it took Kemp with his hands and his feet and his head. We are going to give him a 10-minute rest. But it is only 10 minutes, and at minute 9, I understand Chris Wahagege or someone up in the control booth will kind of flash the lights a little bit so we know to calm down and resume our seats. But we will reconvene in just 10 minutes. And I just also want to remind you all that at the end of the concert, we do have a punch and cookies reception right out this way, and we certainly hope you'll all stay for that. Yes, the last piece is one of my favorites, the Louis Vuitton piece that is so celebratory. Sounds like carillons ringing. It's a perfect ending for our day, so I really hope you stay through that. Thanks.
I'm hoping this is on. Paul, are you back there? Can I get this? Oh, I think it's on now. Cool. Excuse me while I get my phone. Don't we all have to do that? You know, it's the times we live in. Let me pull something up and then I'll talk to you. I wanted you to hear my voice. I do have a voice. You've been hearing my voice through my music, right? And thank you for being here. It's just, well, it's a joy. It's a joy to share this with you. I have to tell you, I started putting this program together early in January, after the new year. I couldn't get myself to the organ to practice during the holidays, except for the holiday stuff, but not for this. But I'll tell you, I haven't done one of these in at least 7 or 8 years. I used to do them here at this church about once a year when we had our concert series on Saturdays. And you know, honestly, it was nice to take a break. Because, and I know many of you appreciate this, and I've said this to some of you, it's a lot of work. But you know what? I enjoyed preparing this program for you for many reasons. One is I love this repertoire. I love this organ. And this organ shows, as you can tell because you've been listening to it, and there's a little more to come, the palette of the tonality and the tones of it are just really wonderful, and it's a real rewarding instrument to play and a fun instrument to play. And so it does all the repertoire for organ, and I've given you kind of a sampling of a wide swath of the repertoire. So again, thank you for being here, for sharing this concert, not only with me, but with this church. As you know, 120 years this church has been here. I haven't been here that long, but I've been here for more than one celebration. And Beth might have mentioned, I think I've been here 26 years. It might be a year longer. You know, it's at that point. You know how it gets. You just start losing track of the higher numbers in many regards. And that's a good thing, probably. But, and some days it feels like I haven't been here very long. But then I tell people it does sometimes feel like I've been here a long time because there are people not here anymore. I remember where they used to sit. And that's kind of the sad part of being in a place a long time. And I have it at La Cañada Press, where I've been 1 year less than here. And many of my La Cañada friends are here too. And thank you for coming over to this. But anyway, to have this concert be part of the celebration of this church's life is so wonderful. And this organ, it was put in 2007. So it's 19 years old almost. We played it on Easter 19 years ago. So we'll have its 19th birthday coming up. Hard to believe that this instrument, again, it feels like I just started playing this instrument yesterday. This instrument has added such a wonderful depth and dimension to the work here in the music ministry and the ministry of the congregation. And as Beth said in her remarks in the beginning, I love playing hymns. And that wasn't part of the story she told you because I didn't tell her this part, but my first piano teacher she was a church organist and pianist, and she had me learning how to play hymns when I was probably 8 years old. And she improvised, play by ear, and she saw that I could do that, and that all started back then. And here I am doing it on the bigger platform, so to speak, with the bigger congregations. And I just love accompanying the voices. And this morning, our sanctuary was full, and I was hearing the congregation really sing, and it reminded me of 20-some years ago when I came, when the congregation was bigger than what it is now. So I had a little tear in my eye as I was playing the hymns for you guys this morning. But anyway, all that being said, it's a wonderful place to be making music. I have 2 more pieces for you. This next one is by the modern composer Arvo Pärt. And I've known of Arvo for a while, and I've heard some of his choral works, I believe. That's what I was most familiar with, but I also was aware he did some instrumental works, but I never paid much attention to it. And so I will say this, that the piece on the program today is a piece that I didn't know about. It was written for organ and sometimes chamber instruments. And it's been also, since it was composed, written, kind of transcribed into other mediums of instruments as well. But I did a little research after our new pastor, Uriel, and I were talking one day, and he mentioned this composer, and I thought, I wonder if he's written any organ stuff, and sure enough. And the piece that I selected, and I didn't know this at the time until I had learned it and did some research, it's actually the most famous organ piece that he wrote. And I'll just tell you a little bit about it. Forgive me for reading it. I don't want to miss anything. So it says here that it's a renowned piece for the organ and chamber instruments by Parrott, who's Estonian by background. And it features, a lot of his music features 2, 3, or 4 voices moving strictly in parallel motion. Well, this one actually is 4 voices. It'll be in the pedal, my feet. It'll be in my left hand, 2 voices in the left hand, and 1 voice in the right. So there you have 4. So you'll notice that. He's very minimalistic. Even in my registrations, there's not much I'm going to pull on. But the piece, I think, is so beautiful and so deep based on his composition of this. And also, just to let you know about it, is that it was written to mark the death of his stepfather. I thought that was an interesting piece. And it's often associated with the phrase, for whether we live unto the Lord, and whether we die unto the Lord. Now, wasn't that what Uriel was talking about today in his sermon? Isn't that interesting how it all comes together? I love that. So it's characterized by a slow and sustained and a contemplative pace. So I hope you enjoy this. And then after that piece, I will finish off with the well-known and renowned Carillon de Westminster by Viera. And many of you, if you don't know it by title, you'll know it when I started. And I just also did some research on that again and learned that actually Viera, the story goes, there's a couple different stories, but the one I like to say that I read is that he was in London and he heard Big Ben. And he loved that melody. And he said, I have to write something. And this is what he wrote. And on this organ, I have chimes, nice big chimes. And you'll hear the chimes appear in the piece. Not all the time, that'd be too much, but somewhere near the middle you'll hear them, and I think it'll be obvious when they come in. So, the Parrott, and then the Viera and Carillon de Westminster. And one last thing before I play, I don't know if Beth mentioned this, there is a reception following this. She did mention, awesome, that's all taken care of, right over here to your right. And please join me over there. I'd love to talk to you and see you over there. And thank you again for coming.